So you know you're a sugar addict, but you're afraid to go get checked out from the doctors because you do not want to hear that you might be pre-diabetic or diabetic. I'm gonna give you the 3 telltale signs that you might be pre-diabetic and what you can do to reverse pre-diabetes naturally.
Hey guys, my name is Michelle,
Anita,
Sarah, Leah, Peyton, Talia,
Jazz, Marquita.
I'm a physique.
Product.
Period. You love to see.
You already know what this is. It is Trehunna from Physique. Did you know back in the 1920s, only 1% of the population had diabetes? Diabetes was very, very rare. But now fast forward a whole 100 years later, now 4 out of 10 people are either pre-diabetic, diabetic, or insulin resistant, which means you're almost pre-diabetic. What is pre-diabetes? First off, diabetes mellitus stands for sweet urine. So back in the day, believe it or not, if they wanted to make sure that somebody was diabetic, the doctor actually had to sample the urine. And the reason why is because the urine is going to be sweet, which means that your kidneys are not able to really filter how much sugar is coming out your body. Your body's kidneys naturally like to reabsorb sugar. But when there's a copious amount of sugar or a bolus amount of sugar and it's overwhelming your kidneys, now some sneak past the glomerulus and you're gonna actually literally start peeing out some form of sugar. Another symptom for prediabetes is that if you notice that for some odd reason you have a small bladder now, or you always gotta pee 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 times a day, that is not normal. That is something called polyuria. And that is a common symptom because sugar itself likes to draw in water. So when sugar is drawing in water, coming from your plasma part of your blood, by the way, and you're peeing it out, your body's trying to get rid of the sugar as fast as possible. So if it got to excrete it out, that's what's going to do, because obviously it cannot control how much sugar intake is coming in because you are in control of that. So if you are peeing a lot more than usual, it is safe to say you're dealing with polyuria, which is a pre-diabetic symptom. If you're always thirsty, you feel like you're never getting hydrated after drinking some water, that's a pre-diabetic symptom as well. Blurred vision. You are fatigued. You're always hungry. If 3 to 4 hours pass and for some odd reason you're getting hangry, you're getting irritable, you want to punch somebody in the face, that is another sign of pre-diabetes. If you're having frequent infections and you notice that the scale is creeping up, these are all telltale signs you might be pre-diabetic. A lot of people also seen physically pre-diabetes manifesting on the skin. If you notice that you got like a mole, but it's not really a mole, it's not a different color, kind of like a tag to your skin, that is called a skin tag. And that's how you know that your body was at one point in time in a hyperinsulinemic state. You see some people, they got darker spots like in the crevices or in the folds of their body. Let's say underneath their armpits, sometimes on the back of people's neck. And that's called nigricans and acanthosis, which means that your body is rubbing skin so much, the melanocytes, and your body is being overreactive. Long story short, all of these things are due to you having too much sugar in your bloodstream. So now you're probably realizing that A, I probably do got prediabetes now, and you're kind of scared. Or B, whoo, I'm good to go. I don't have prediabetes. That is totally fine. But what we can do is make sure that you're optimizing your diet so you are not dealing with any type of insulin resistance later in the future. About 78% of Americans nowadays are insulin resistant, which means it's manifesting prediabetes, but you're just controlling it a little bit better. So diabetes, believe it or not, really didn't come into fruition until after the 1970s. This is a time when Richard Nixon, who was our president, he was dealing with soaring food costs because the Vietnam War just started. And if you want to actually be a president, you gotta control inflation. There was some civil unrest because a lot of people was realizing that every single food group was getting higher and people couldn't afford it. So what he did is he actually hired somebody by the name of Earl Butz. His job was to make food cheaper. So guess what he did? He started to communicate with the farmers and he started to tell the farmers to start producing one single crop a little bit more, which was corn. Because corn is very cheap and inexpensive, this is one of the greatest things that can extend your shelf life in processed foods. I can put some corn oil into some burgers and make it bigger, fatter, and taste better. It also extends the shelf life. But after that, high fructose corn syrup came in the 1970s, and that is liquid sugar. So now if you pay attention to majority of your sodas, majority of your juices, ocean spray, etc., you're literally drinking so much sugar in 1 cup. You are giving your body the amount of sugar it needs in 10 days in 1 cup. Your body only needs 1 teaspoon of sugar at a time. But if you actually look at some juices or some Cokes, a Coca-Cola literally has 9 teaspoons of sugar in 1 can. People don't usually just stop at 1 can. Especially if you're at a restaurant, you're getting a glass and then they got free refills. I wonder why. So you gotta keep in mind, the main offender why a lot of people is getting overweight is not because they're really overeating calories. It's the type of calorie you're overeating. A lot of carbohydrates. Now you're probably thinking,
oh man, well that means I can't lose weight because my favorite foods come from carbs.
Believe it or not, all carbs are not created equal. Just like all calories are not created equal. I can have 100 grams of carbs coming from broccoli. My body's not going to respond the same as me having 100 grams of carbs coming from rice. I can have 100 grams of carbs coming from a yellow watermelon. My body is not going to have the exact same type of response as if I had 100 grams of carbs coming from donut. And the reason being is because this watermelon not only got some vitamins and minerals in it, but it also got something called fiber in it. So what I would love for you to do is start making sure that you're eating a little bit more whole foods and keep the processed foods to a minimum. Yes, it's highly palatable. Yes, you can have it here and there. But if you want to have that cookie or that cupcake, bread, things like that, just tell yourself,
hey, today I'm living my life.
Because the scale's really not going to drop, especially if you're insulin resistant. Keep in mind, oatmeal is not really that great for you as well.
Trey, I thought oatmeal was healthy. I thought it was good for the heart.
Because it is still loaded with carbs. Rice is not that great for you as well. Even brown rice. There's no real main difference between white bread and brown bread. Yes, brown bread or wheat bread has a little bit more fiber in it. It's still gonna spike your insulin as high eating the brown bread than the white bread. So the name of the game is making sure your glucose levels is not going as high. Because once it starts getting higher and higher, then your body's got to produce more insulin. And once insulin is in your system, your body's not going to burn any body fat. It cannot. Your body got to metabolize all the carbohydrates first, or actually put it in the right storage spaces before it can start tapping to this body fat again. If you're having more whole foods coming with fiber, things like broccoli or asparagus or tomatoes or even sweet potatoes. A sweet potato is a little bit better than a white potato, but we all know that sweet potatoes are still a starch. Anything that is deemed a starch, these things are more conducive if your goal is to gain weight. Therefore, if you're having a little bit more starches, you should not expect the scale to drop as much. A good analogy I like to tell all my clients, the whole purpose of carbs is to help your body to store energy. So as an analogy, think of carbs like a speaker. Every time you turn a knob up on a speaker, what can you expect to happen? Sound to get louder. The same thing applies with the human body. The more carbs I give to a human body, the more times I turn this knob on the speaker, which means that I'm telling my body more and more of a signal to store energy opposed to burning fat. Your body cannot do both. If you give your body enough sugar, it has to burn off the sugar before it starts tapping to its fat. That's why people follow a ketogenic diet. There's nothing magical about keto. What this ketogenic diet does, it helps people stay satiated because they're giving their body the right type of macronutrients, and now their hormones is working with them versus against them, but also because your body's burning nothing but fat. Once your body burns all the fat that you just gave it exogenously, your body's gonna be like, oh, well, I actually got some fat on this arm. I got some fat in my little stomach area. Oh, I got some fat in the back of my neck. Hopefully not. But now I can just go ahead and start tapping into this body fat as well. If you are pre-diabetic, the very first thing you need to start focusing on is cut out the man-made foods. Start focusing on whole foods. Things that come from the earth like this. Single ingredient foods. Have more watermelon. Have more any type of melon. Have more berries, opposed to something like a baked good or something that comes in a bag, box, or barcode. Now, tip number 2. Make sure you are moving your body day in and day out. Because a lot of people work remotely and because of that one virus that went around in 2020, a lot of people now do not move as much because they work at home. So you got to make a conscious effort, or you got to go out your way to actually move your body nowadays. Make sure you are getting 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day. But if you're not able to do that after every meal, just go for a walk for 5 to 10 minutes. Believe it or not, that's going to help your body metabolize and burn up that sugar more than you eating that meal and then you're sitting down and you're typing away on the computer. And start tracking. So I have my clients track their food intake sometimes when they're telling me that they're stalling. And one thing they realize is the things that they was overlooking, they're not oblivious to anymore because they can physically see it. And now they got physical data to see how their body's responding to these foods. So get a journal and start writing down everything. And by the way, I do not want you to use an app. Write it down. When you write things down, it means a little bit more to you than an iPhone note. You want to get your step count around 8 to 10,000 steps a day. And if you do that alone, your body's going to start clearing out the excess glucose that's in the system. And guess what? It's going to also start tapping into that stored form of carbohydrates that's already within your body called glycogen. When your body is able to get rid of all the glycogen in the system, now it can start tapping into that body fat. So that back roll you've been trying to get off all 2024, that bat wing that you've been trying to get off all 2024, that fupa. But at the end of the day, the only thing that your body stores as glycogen is excess carbs. Look at this label right now. If you see that carb number closer to 15 than 5, put it down. Get a better version. That is not a ideal choice if your goal is to lose weight. A better choice would be something like this, which are blueberries or strawberries. They got less net carbs in it. And net carbs, ladies, is carbs minus fiber. That tells you the quality of the carb. You want to make sure every single vegetable or every single fruit or every single carb you put in your body has some fiber to it. There's some vegetables like spinach and asparagus and bok choy that are actually protein based, which means they got more protein in it than carbs itself. These are the best type of vegetables because these are the vegetables that'll keep you full. And if you're trying to get rid of the pre-diabetic diagnosis, what you want to do is make sure you lose a little bit more weight. And last but not least, make sure you're not drinking your calories. Why? Because a lot of people don't associate drinking calories with actual calories. That's why when we get a smoothie, we're still looking for a meal next hour or two. Or we're having a smoothie to hold us over 40 meal. So just bypass the smoothie in general. Make sure you start eating your fruit. Don't drink your fruit. If you're somebody who's trying to go a little bit more of the supplementary route, then you want to have a little bit more choline. Choline is going to help your liver strip off some of that fat from the liver. And also you want to have some berberine hydrochloride. Berberine hydrochloride gives your body the exact same effect as metformin. And if you follow these tips, you can expect to reverse your pre-diabetes in 3 to 4 months. If you're somebody who knows that, you know what, I just want somebody to hold my hand and help me get rid of diabetes overall, what I'd love for you to do, take the quiz below. I'm accepting clients. And hopefully y'all learned something today. And that's your reset tip of the day. It's going to be stay snatched all the time. No, in the summertime. Talk to you soon.